we are here tonight to discuss a little bit about your book that you would have written. Grab you some lemons, making the best out of life. So moments, and well, it's a book that I have read. Before tonight, I went and read again to make sure I was ready. I was ready for tonight, and we know we had to be on sometime before, but this is the best time, I believe. Best time.
This is
the right time, exactly. The right time, rightly so. All right, so it's a pleasure to have you. Right, we wouldn't give away everything because we want them to buy the book, right? But we would give them, we'll give our listeners, some of the things in there, the truths and so forth. But before we do that tonight, I want you to tell our listeners, right? We have folks listening on Facebook, folks listening via the radio. Give them a little bit about who you are. Who is Damien Marcus Williams?
Well, Damien Marcus Williams is a person of faith. That defines me. Before anything else defines me, my faith defines me. It's my point of departure for everything else. But I also, apart from being a minister like yourself, I'm also a community development consultant. I am a coach, business coach. I am an entrepreneur. And I am somebody who loves people and love wine, red wine.
Yes. Well, so in terms of your tonight, we delving into your authorship, we might say, your writing, because while you're, as we would have heard, right, you are a minister, you're involved in the ministry, you're a man of faith, right, and you're involved in community development, right. You are also one who has penned some thoughts, some ideas, some things about, and what I like about it is that it is so personal. What you would have penned, it's very personal. It's quite very personal, speaking to your life, and then out of it, some wonderful lessons come, and so this is what I want us to talk a little bit about tonight, all right, in particular. So, but before we run into that, what inspired you to write this book, Grab You Some Lemons?
Life. Life.
Wow.
You and I studied theology.
Yes.
And we have come to define theology as faith seeking understanding. And in that understanding, this faith has to be relevant to our lives, to our lived realities. And I've had some experiences, even prior to seminary, but the meaning of life and the meaning of adversity and the meaning of suffering and the value of those did not mean much to me until I had my seminary experience.
Right.
It was in seminary that my faith was tested, and for much of that journey, and even after that, I went to seminary to study theology, but then I became an atheist.
Wow.
Because the suffering was so strong and so much, and there was nothing in my faith journey up until then that prepared me for it.
Wow.
So coming out of that, I started to recognize how God uses suffering and trial to form character in us. And there's value in it. And hence the title of the book, Grab You Some Lemons. Because it's not life throwing you lemons to knock you down. It's God giving you tools to prepare you for what is ahead.
Wonderful words. I mean, I'm listening to you right now, and I get a sense that suffering, we nobody want to go through hardship, but there is a place for it in our in our walk, in our experience. And one of the things you mentioned, and I like us to just jump on that a little before you go forward. You say up to the point where you entered seminary, you were not prepared for that. You weren't prepared.
I wasn't prepared because you see, growing up very Pentecostal, and the charismatic movement, the idea of Christianity and faith is a removal from life's suffering. A victory in your Christian walk meant that you were untouchable, right? And so you hear about Job in sermons, but that was Job. Yeah, nobody prepared you for here because you're holy and you're anointed and you're working with God and there's blessings, man. But nobody prepared you for suffering, and for suffering being a tool that God uses. If suffering happens, it's always the devil. Yeah, that is what we've learned. That is what we've been taught. That is what church has done to people. And so when I came to seminary and I recognized that, hey, what is suffering and lick me left, right, and center? You understand, whether it was people's mouths, whether it was things that were done, or whether it was lack that I suffered. I did not understand how it is that I could have been what I considered walking in God's will for my life, and then all of this foolishness is happening. Because I didn't need seminary to have a career.
Yeah, and you see, when you speak to this truth, there you speak to the presence and suffering in our lives, even as believers. So oftentimes, and I would have said it before to some folks, oftentimes we think that we should be exempt from suffering because we are people of faith. But it has that important place in.
We've been studying Matthew at church, the book of Matthew, and one of the things we learned after Matthew 4, when Jesus started preaching the kingdom, is really that those who walk according to the kingdom must prepare themselves for that kind of suffering.
Exactly.
Suffering is not an incidental. Suffering is characteristic of this walk that we've taken on. Luke chapter 14 asks us to count the cost of discipleship. I think we've fallen into this kind of prosperity gospel that has sort of warped our thinking into this